What's going on, y'all? Listen, I know most of you have been in this situation where you've been in a trade, everything's going well, and you turn your back, maybe you just are doing something else, occupied with other things, and then you go back to look at your trade, and then boom. Not only did you lose your trade, but you did not even get taken out at your stop loss area, you got taken out at an area way beyond that. In other words, there's slippage and something happened in the markets and you were not aware of what was going on. There was a news release, more than likely. And because everything happened so fast, your broker probably wasn't able to execute the close of your trade quick enough, and hence you lost tons and tons of money in the process. Now, in today's video, I'm going to teach you exactly how you can avoid this, what tool you should be using to make sure you understand when news is coming out and how it may impact the markets, and how you can turn those losses into big wins. Ready? Let's go. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video. So I know many of us have mixed feelings when it comes to news and news trading overall. Ultimately, it's a very volatile time in the markets, and you get the extremes of both. You're gonna have people who can make tons and tons of money during these volatile times, and you can get people who lose tons of money, if not blow their accounts during these times as well. Now, how do I make sure that I'm on the right side of these situations? And first of all, how do I even know when these situations are occurring anyway? We are going to go to a resource called forexfactory.com, and that is where you're going to understand what news releases are coming out, how important their impact is on the markets, and how to decipher what your approach should be depending on what data comes out. Let's go to forexfactory.com. All right, guys, so we are on forexfactory.com right now, and when you go to this website, you want to click on calendar, right? So once you click on calendar, it'll take you to this over here, and this is your economic calendar. Now, the beauty of this resource is that this calendar is letting you know what news releases are going to be coming out for different countries that participate in the Forex market. Now, despite telling you all the different types of news releases that are coming out, in addition to that, it also will tell you the impact of that news release on the markets. So it goes as follows. On the left-hand side, you have the date when the news release is going to occur. The time relative to the time zone you're in, make sure it's adjusted to your particular time zone. Next, you have the currency that the effect will happen to. So we can see Euro, the Swiss franc, Great British pound, US dollar. So these are different currencies and their news releases that will be coming out on the specific time that you can see on the left-hand side. And then to the right of the currency, you're going to see a column called impact. So in the impact column, you have different colored folders. All right. And basically, this is how you understand it. The yellow folders are news releases that are not going to have such a huge impact on the markets. The orange folders are going to have somewhat of a medium impact on the markets. But the red folders are going to have a very high impact on the market. Those news releases are the ones that are going to move the markets the most. So that being said, we won't really be concerned with the yellow impact folders because, to be honest, they won't move the markets much, if any at all. And even the orange folders, yeah, there may be some impact in the markets and you should pay attention to them, but they won't necessarily move the markets in a dramatic way. But those red folders, you gotta watch out for them, and you should be informed on when they're coming out. And as a matter of fact, even if you're not trading news, you need to know when the news is coming out, because you may be in an already existing position, news comes out and it goes the opposite way of where you enter that trade. So you need to be aware of when news is coming out so you can make the decision whether you're going to trade news or not, and how to adjust yourself if you're going to do one or the other. So what I'm most concerned about is the red folders, all right? These red folders. So if we scroll down here on Thursday, April 27th, we had a couple red folders, which means high impact news for the USD. Okay, I'm mostly concerned with high impact news in the USD. Why? Because the only pair I really trade is gold. And if there's major impact news on the US dollar, it's also going to affect gold. And this is how I start to understand how the news is going to affect my pair. Let's go further to the right-hand side, all right? So this envelope over here is going to open up the details section, where it's going to give you more details on what this news is about, right? So it's going to tell you the source of this news, the measures, usually what the effect is. So if I have an actual greater than the forecast, is usually good for currency. What does that mean? What that means is if we're talking about the US dollar, if my numbers, and these are your different columns, you have your actual column, your forecast column, and your previous column. So we had what happened previously. Over here, we see the most previous release of this news was January 26, 2023, and previously we had GDP at 3.2%. Now, the forecast is pretty much what experts think the numbers are going to be on the next release. Okay, so the forecast is usually going to be there before the news release is there. Okay, so before the news release actually happens, you'll have the previous numbers and you'll also have the forecasted numbers for the next release. Now, the actual column is going to be what the release actually was. Now, at the time of the release, those numbers will come out, and this is where you have to pay attention here. Okay, so now going back to usual effect, when it says actual greater than forecast is good for currency, what it means is what actually comes out in the actual column for this specific news release, if it's greater than what the forecast is for it, then usually that's good for currency. So in other words, you can expect the US dollar to go up in value if you get a GDP reading that is higher than the forecasted reading. Now, how do I interpret this when I'm trading? Well, if I'm trading gold versus the US dollar, if I get an actual that's greater than forecast, to me that means that the US dollar is probably going to see some significant strength, and I'm probably going to look for sell opportunities when it comes to gold. So the next part of this is actually going to TradingView, and all of this is happening simultaneously. So yes, I'm probably using different screens, maybe a phone or two, just to make sure I have the screen of my news calendar, I have the screen of my trading charts, and I have my MT4 or MT5 ready to actually execute that trade. So this is how I set up my TradingView. So on TradingView right now, I like to use a split screen, and you go to this section over here and you can use a split screen. And I like to have both the pair I trade, which is gold versus the US dollar, and the actual DXY or the dollar currency index on my screen so I could see what's actually going on. Now, why is this important? I'm not going to enter a trade on the initial news release. That's not going to happen. And I explained this, and I explained my reasons why and how I even enter a trade during news in the first place in my video that I made on how to trade news. You can check that out when you get a chance. But what I want to do is I want to see how both pairs are moving. So if I get an actual that's greater than the forecast when it comes to GDP, I'm going to expect a significantly strong up move for DXY. And sometimes when this is happening, a couple things can happen. Number one, it may be delayed, so the initial push of the move may not happen until after a few minutes. Number two, you may get a wick actually in the opposite direction first that takes many traders out and blows many accounts, to be honest, before you actually get a move to the upside for the DXY, or even vice versa for gold. You're expecting that gold is going to sell, but before that happens, you get a significant wick to the upside that will take many traders out who are ahead of themselves, who just wanted to enter immediately, and then it slowly proceeds to take that down move. So you want to wait and you want to watch to see what's happening, even with those fake outs involved as well. The third thing that could happen, which to me is probably the more interesting things and what has helped me find a lot of success in trading news, is that sometimes the DXY's reaction and gold's reaction are delayed from each other. Now, why is this significant? Because what tends to happen sometimes, not all the time, sometimes the DXY will actually take off to the upside while gold is still moving up and down and has not definitively taken off yet. Now, when this happens, it's usually the best scenario for somebody who's trading news when DXY takes off for the upside because it's reacting to the news and it takes off as it should and as you expect it to based on the release. Now, that little gap period, that little delay is where you have a chance to enter your gold trade at the right time to capitalize on the maximum amount of profits possible on this news trade. So sometimes I'll see that DXY takes off. There's a delay with gold. It hasn't necessarily taken off yet, or it's starting to take off. And then I enter that trade, and then I ride that trade down for a significant amount of pips. I don't get too greedy now, but I get mine and I get out. And that is the beauty of being aware of what's going on in news. You can capitalize on big moves if you understand how to interpret the information and if you understand how to apply the information as well. All right, so guys, use this tool, forexfactory.com. It can definitely make a huge difference in your trading. It could save you from big losses, obviously, and it could actually help you get those big wins as well. All right, guys, so I hope you gained value in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, Joe the Maestro. Peace.